Let's go check now the top business news stories. Our business editor, Kate Moody's here. Hi there, Kate.
Hi, Tom.
Now, the tourism industry welcoming the announcement from the United States that they're going to be easing the travel restrictions on people who are vaccinated who want to enter the country.
Yeah, the industry has really been lobbying for those borders to be at least partially reopened. They'll be hoping for a rise in bookings at the end of the year holiday season. Airlines for America, which is the lobbying group for the largest U.S. carriers, said the decision would help safely reunite the countless families, friends, and colleagues who've been separated for the last 2 years and would help boost the nation's economic recovery. It said it will be working with the Biden administration on how to implement those changes. That will likely include questions about what vaccines and tests are accepted as this 18-month-long travel ban starts to be loosened. While shares of U.S. airline, hotel, and cruise companies have risen slightly in response, British Airways parent company IAG saw its shares jumping 11%, getting a real boost just before the close earlier on. Travel spending in the U.S. dropped 42% last year, with international spending plunging 76%. Hawaii suffered more than any other U.S. state. Overall, the U.S. economy lost around $492 billion last year because of that dip in tourism. That's according to the U.S. Travel Association. The Chinese property giant Evergrande is facing a Thursday deadline to pay $120 million in interest on its bonds. If, as expected, it's unable to meet those obligations, it could collapse. It has some $300 billion worth of debt after years of expanding too quickly. Analysts say it could be indicative of a broader problem facing real estate companies in China and the region, and its bankruptcy could even derail China's economic recovery. The firm has been likened to Lehman Brothers, the investment bank whose collapse in 2008 was seen as the start of the global financial crisis. Many observers believe Beijing will help to keep Evergrande afloat, even if not in the form of a bailout.
If they totally just let accordingly hands off, that means they allow the bonds to actually default, that could actually lead to a social problem. If the Chinese authority were to actually allow Evergrande to actually default by itself, that means allow market action to actually dictate without any intervention, I would say indirect intervention by the government, it will actually lead to a full-blown localized crisis.
Well, concerns about Evergrande and the possibility that that crisis could spread have led to a sell-off on global markets today. Wall Street deepening its September slump, the Dow Jones shedding some 900 points. It's heading for its worst one-day drop in nearly a year. The S&P 500 is down 2 2/3 of a percentage point. The Nasdaq over 3% with less than an hour of trade to go. Wall Street's volatility fear index jumped to its highest level since May. Earlier, stocks in Frankfurt and Milan lost more than 2% each. The CAC 40 in Paris was down about 1 3/4. Energy companies in the UK have asked the government for emergency loans as they deal with rising gas prices. Consumers are somewhat protected by an energy price cap in the UK, which leaves firms paying the difference when international rates rise. Britain's business secretary has ruled out bailouts for the sector, but said the country would not face power outages. Lauren Berstecker reports.
A reassuring message for British households. Despite an ongoing energy crisis and soaring gas prices, the UK's business minister said there was no danger of lights going out anytime soon.
We have sufficient capacity and more than sufficient capacity to meet demand, and we do not expect supply emergencies to occur this winter. There is absolutely no question.
The crisis, which has seen wholesale gas prices rise by 79% in the past month and market fuel prices soar by over 500% in a year, led Kwarteng to hold emergency talks with energy suppliers and consumer groups on Monday. The government said it would not bail out failed companies, but would consider emergency loans after 5 small energy firms went bankrupt in recent weeks. It also insisted that taxpayers should not have to field the cost of the crisis, as it would maintain an existing cap on energy prices.
Customers, especially, most particularly vulnerable customers, must be protected from price spikes. The energy price cap, which saves 15 million households up to £100 a year, is staying.
The current energy crisis, which has affected several EU countries such as France and Spain, is linked to multiple factors. Outages at some power plants, the rising cost of carbon emissions permits, and the ongoing transition away from coal have all weighed on supply, while demand increased sharply in recent months as the global economy began to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic.
Germany is still Europe's economic powerhouse, but with Angela Merkel preparing to step away from the helm, no shortages of economic challenges lie ahead. Andrew Hillier has more.
Angela Merkel leaves Germany as she found it, a motor for Europe's economic development. But a closer look under the bonnet reveals problems that may lie in waiting. Economists say Merkel has been too sluggish with Germany's green energy transition, rushing to close nuclear power plants without covering the shortfall.
Wir sind eine Industrienation, das heißt, wir brauchen große Kraftwerke, um eben die Verbraucher mit Solarstrom bedienen zu können. Das heißt, auf der Freifläche wird den bedeutendsten Anteil für den Ausbau von erneuerbaren Energien, für Solarenergie haben.
German car makers are also increasingly under threat from their electric competitors. Tesla is already making inroads, snatching market share from household names such as BMW and Volkswagen. Critics also say Germany has fallen behind in digital innovation, failing to invest in key infrastructure. Rural parts of the country lack stable internet, with knock-on effects for businesses.
Ich bin ja nun in einer ländlichen Gegend mit meiner Firma. Wenn Sie Internet haben wollen, was stabil läuft, ist das ein Problem, die also nicht das widerspiegeln, was man eigentlich erwartet. Das heißt, wenn Sie mit Kunden telefonieren.
The German economy has boomed thanks in large part to China eagerly buying its products. Firms have sold their expertise to Chinese factories, transforming them into export powerhouses. But now, China is using what it learned from Germany to compete with German companies, potentially chasing them out of Chinese markets.
Finally, one of France's most iconic brands has put down roots in India. The luxury bakery chain La Durée, which is known for its macarons, has opened up a tea room in New Delhi. The Indian franchise owner is hoping to open more than a dozen other locations across the country. The 159-year-old brand already has shops in some 20 economies around the world, but it does draw huge crowds of tourists in its locations in Paris and across France. Tom, for now, this tea room opening for dine-in experiences, it says, but this being 2021, they'll also soon be launching a delivery service.
Well, those are making me rather hungry, those images there, so I think we better leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, our business editor, Kate Moody. Thank you so much.